Hello. So for my second language acquisition project, I chose to focus on the interaction hypothesis, the comprehensible input hypothesis, and translanguaging when I was studying the case studies and the video. So the first place that I saw the interaction hypothesis used was in the levels of support scaffolding from the video. This allowed students the safety and scaffolding to make mistakes early and then the agency to increase their proficiency. And this relates to the interaction hypothesis because the scaffolding is going to allow students all of the background and language frames that they need to communicate effectively while focusing on communicating content and giving them as many opportunities as possible to speak without having to worry about getting stuck on vocabulary. Another place that the interaction hypothesis was present was in the case study, talking about Carlos using sentence starters. The sentence starters are going to give Carlos the opportunity to speak more, give him the confidence to speak, so that he is interacting with peers who are more knowledgeable and proficient in English than he is, so he can notice ways that they're talking, patterns in their speaking, and self-monitor without leaving him high and dry with no tools to speak. So we're giving Carlos every opportunity to interact with his classmates. Comprehensible input. The language dives was a fantastic example of comprehensible input from the video. It allowed students to interact deeply with language and vocabulary and sort of dissect it using as many modes as possible. From the video, if I remember right, they took sentences and passages from the books and then used symbols, pictures, gestures, and their home language to represent vocabulary in as many ways as possible. The other place I saw was with Miss Rodriguez using multimodal delivery. It talked about that in the little paragraph on Carlos. It says that Carlos used visual aids, diagrams, and pictures, all in an effort to make content more understandable and comprehensible. Miss Rodriguez also used gestures and expressions to convey meaning and ensure that other students understood the information presented. And this is just Ms. Rodriguez using as many modes of communication as possible to ensure meaning instead of getting hung up on vocabulary, so that students are really processing what's happening instead of getting stuck on vocabulary. And translanguaging, this one was awesome. There were so many examples, but I chose one from the case study and one from the video. From the case study, Juan is allowed to participate in Spanish. It sounds like there are a lot of peers who share Juan's home language, which is Spanish, and Ms. Rodriguez allows Juan to communicate with his peers in Spanish to increase meaning, comprehension, and to allow Juan to maintain that part of his identity in the classroom. And in the video, they talked about how this school that was presenting all of their sort of wonderful tactics for approaching multilingual learning just had a multicultural approach to education in general. They talked about how multiculturalism was highlighted not only in allowing students to communicate from their own perspective, but also taking on cultural perspectives from around the world when talking about history or writing. They just allow their students to take on their own perspective and communicate from there, and also to interact with others, meaning culture and language as well. So highlighting cultural diversity in the classroom, both with the students that they have and then with other cultures that are present in the texts that they're learning about.